Hello guys, before we get into the video, I have small things I would like to tell you guys. First of all is that this particular video is super important even if you're watching my e-commerce app, because at the beginning I wanted to implement the back end of that project using Firebase, but since most of you requested to use MySQL and PHP My Admin, now we are going to use the app on a web server. So if you're watching that tutorial, this one is super important, because after we're done with this, we are going to take the knowledge we are going to get from this video and implement on our e-commerce app. The second news is that what you're seeing on the screen is my app Money. I'm going to open source this and I'll leave the link in the description. And now I went ahead and implemented a lot of functionalities like adding categories, editing. You can update the transactions, you can view the summary for the day, for the previous day, the monthly summary. You can do a lot of things on this app. I'll not demonstrate because that's not the goal. But if you want to support me in a way, if you like my videos, please go ahead to Play Store, download the app. I'll leave the link in the description, or just go to the Play Store and write Money. And if you would like to have an app like this, if you want to use it, I'll leave the source code of the app in the description as well, so you can just make use of that. With that being said, let's learn how to connect our Flutter app to a web server. Thank you. Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. Today, to celebrate the fact that we just reached 2,000 subscribers, I'm going to do one of the most requested videos of all times. I'm sorry for the inconsistency. The problem is I've been busy working on a couple things and college and this, but okay, that's not the topic. Let's just enjoy the video. And today we're going to connect our Flutter app to our server. Okay, so to start, I'll just open Android Studio. If you are not new to PHP and MySQL, it's going to be kind of helpful. But if you're new to the stuff, I'll try to explain. I'll try to explain it as much as I can to make it easier, even for beginners, to know how to connect your Flutter app to the server. So I'll just create here my new Flutter project, and I'm going to call this Flutter app connect to server. Yes, because many of you guys, I know that you are developers, or you've been developing for other languages, mainly web, and you don't want to go and learn Firebase to develop the backend of a Flutter app. And most of you even suggested us to use PHP and MySQL for the backend of the e-commerce app. So to make it easier for people coming from a web development background, or people that just don't want to use Firebase but they want to make use of their own web servers, I think that this video is going to be super helpful. Okay, let's wait until the app creation is done. So guys, here we have the app. This is the basic app you get from Flutter when you just installed it. So I will run it. No, actually I'll not run it. I will do something else. Let us open up here. So what are we going to do now? First of all is I will clean this. Not everything, because we may need to reuse some stuff here. Just for now, just clear these comments. Okay, now here I can just clear here all of these, and finally here we are going to clear these until, okay, let's clear everything for now. Okay, so we are ready to start from 0. Inside here I'll just return scaffold, of course, and here app bar. For the app bar we're going to provide title of title, let us change this title here to, first of all, I'll change this title to, let's give it something like Flutter, oops, Flutter server app, something like that. I'll just give Flutter server here, and what else? Here we're going to copy this variable and paste it here, and we do have a problem. So what is the issue then? Oh, sorry, it's going to be widget dot title. Basically we're saying that the title of this app, we are going to take it from here, this. So we are passing here. Okay, let me take a second to explain what's happening here. We have to import the package, as we all know, and the main is starting our app. Okay, then here we have our class app, which is a stateless widget, and from here, from our stateless widget, my app, we are basically defining the material app class, where we pass the title, the theme we're going to use. The primary color is going to be colors blue, and then home, which is the page that we're going to, or that we're going to load, or we are calling the home page widget here, and we are passing the title for that home page as Flutter server app. And here we have the home page widget, which is extensive stateful widget, and then here we have the title. And since the home page state is a child of the home page, we cannot access the title directly. We have to write widget.title, and this widget is basically saying that this title is a variable inside of the parent class, or this title is a variable inside the stateful widget class, the my home page class. Okay, so we're going to center title, we're going to give true to this. Okay, now let us do something else, which is deleting this test, blah blah blah, you delete. Now it's about time for us to run our app. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. But anyways, while the app is running, I'm going to show you guys free one. That's something you can use even on your apps for production. So it's something quite interesting. So you just open your favorite browser and go to your favorite search engine and just write 00 web host, and my favorite search engine happens to be Google, so I'll just use F. And what am I going to do here? We're going to get started now. Boom, boom, boom. You can, now the packages depend on what you want to use the server for. Okay, if you want to use this for a production app, you can pay. This is the currency here is rupees, so this is something near to $2, I guess. And yeah, for the premium, so it's quite cheap. But for now, we're going to make use of the free package. Now I'll just sign up with my Facebook, but you can put your email credentials here and everything, or else you can sign up with Google if you want to. It's practical. But okay, I'll put here my email address .ss at hotmail.com, and let me put a password. What will I write here? You write anything you want, and I'll sign up. Okay, where do you see a car? Here's a car. Next, blah blah blah. So you just have to go through this stuff. Okay, I will save it. And after you're done with that, this is what you're going to see. And what you have to do when you reach here, you just have to add. Okay, mail confirmation is required. I may need to go and do this, so I may need to stop this video for a while. Let me go back to after you did sorry, after you did your mail confirmation, you'll be able to just hit add, and here just choose what you wanted. I'll just write other and go to next. Optional host name, first is supposed to not show this, and I'll just generate okay, here you can pick different host name, but I'll not change it. I'll just generate. And wait for a second. Okay, done. So here you have your host up and running, and just hit on manage website. You want to manage databases actually, and come here to new database. Give the name of the database you want. I'll give it Flutter. I think it's good enough. Username, I'll give it Santos. And finally here, give it a password that you're going to remember, and create a new database on your server. So after this is done, you're going to have your server running for free. How good is that? And meanwhile, here we have our app. Nothing too fancy. I'll just remove this banner the bug banner, blah 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 blah, and it'll just put false into that. Control save, and it's good. Here you can change the color if you want to. If you don't like the blue, I'll just put something different because most of the times we just use blue, and let's put pink. Good. Let's go back to our server, and our database is still being created. Okay, nothing to worry about. Now let's wait for a second. It's almost done. And if you copy the link, this link here, you will see that this server is up and running on the web, and the only limitation you have now is that you can only upload the maximum of 1 GB of content. But since I'm just using this for testing and you are just here to learn, there's no problem about that. Now let's first of all, I'll copy the username. You hit manage and go to php my admin. My connection is not that fast today, so you have to be patient here. And here let me just paste the username and the password. And I do want to save it. So here we are. If you're not familiar with this interface, the php my admin is what's going to allow us to work with our database, or with our SQL database. So this is what we're going to use. I'm not going to go in depth into this because that's not actually the goal. It's not to teach you about php my admin or SQL. It's just giving you the basic to connect your Flutter app to your web server. Now here's our database. We're going to create a table, and for this table I'll write what do we want to have from this. I'll call it posts, and I'm going to give it 3 columns. And the first column is going to be ID, which is going to be the ID of the posts. I'm giving a length of 11, and you have to check this AI. This means it's not artificial intelligence, is auto increment. The ID on the table must increment every time a new entry is given to the table. So it has to be a primary key. Just hit yes, and here I'm going to write post header, which is going to be a varchar or varchar 255. I'm going to give the length, and finally I'm going to give post body, and here I'm going to give varchar again and 255. Again, if you're new to this, maybe all I'm doing here sounds like Chinese to you, but if you're familiar with PHP or web development, I know that this is kind of easy. What we're doing here, we're just creating a table called posts, and the attributes of a table, we're giving the ID, which is going to store the ID of every single record on the table. And now we have post header and post body. What are we going to store inside of this table of posts? And here the post header is like the title and the body is the content. Okay, so just hit save and we are good to go. So here we have our table. Let's insert some dummy content, so you can just hit insert, and you don't put nothing into the ID because this is auto increment. And for the header of the first post, I'll write flutter, flutter, and here the content blah blah blah. I do love Flutter and Dart and blah blah blah. And here I'll write native. Then I don't like native development. It is so boring. Okay, now what I'm going to do is browse and see what happened to our table. So here we have the table, and the name of the table is posts, as you all know. The post header here is Flutter, here is native, and here have blah 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 blah. I like Flutter, blah blah blah. I don't like native. Okay, so for now this is done, and we are going to our second step. What we're going to do now is we're going to come back over here, file manager, and now here we are going to upload some files which are going to make our life easier while trying to connect to our servers. What are we going to do first? Locally, we're going to edit some files. Let me open Visual Studio Code. You can open any text editor you have, that's fine. If you're on Windows, you can just use Notepad if you want, that's fine. But if you have something like Visual Studio Code, it's awesome. So just go and create a new file. Not this. Control new, and you'll have the ability of creating a new file. So what are we going to do here? First, we are trying to make sure that our server is up and running. Okay, so here I will do something. We'll connect to our server by doing something like, let's create PHP. And when you're dealing with PHP, if you're familiar with PHP, it works like this. Then here we have PHP, but to make our lives easier, first let's save this file. Save as, and I'll write db.php, and I want to save this where on my desktop. Save. Okay, now the icon did change here, and this is good. And here you're going to write PHP, and after this is done, we are going to create a variable. If you're not familiar with PHP, you use this $sign to specify that you're working with a variable, and we're going to call this variable DNS is equal mySql, and then host is equal, you have to come here and copy this which is basically the name of your server. And if you want to try something out, you can just open a new tab, paste it, and hit enter, just to make sure that it's running, and it is running. Okay, so going back, for the host, I'm going to paste that address, or even better, I'll come over here and I will copy it. Let's see if I get the HTTP. This is what we want. And then after you're done with the host, we have something called DB name. Here we're specifying the database we are connecting to, and the DB name is going to be equal. Let's go back to here. Manage databases, and here you have the DB name. You just copy the DB name from here and paste it over here. Okay, this step is done. Then you have to create the user, or we have to provide the username, and in my case it's Santos. And finally, I'm going to create a variable called pass, which is the user password you just defined, and mine was just 111111, and I'm just showing this freely because I know that I'm not going to use the server, so, but it's not safe to show your passwords, I know that. Then we are going to use a try catch block. I don't know if you're familiar with that as well, but we're basically saying try to do something, and if it doesn't work, do something else. So at the higher and simpler level is that. So we're going to create a variable called db, and here is going to be new PDO. PDO stands for PHP data object. We're not going to go too deep into that. And if you're not familiar with PHP, you don't have to understand this deeply. You just have to know that you are supposed to write this code to connect to the database. Okay. Okay. Now here I'm going to write DNS, which is the variable that we define here above. And after DNS, I'm going to write user, and finally I'm going to write here pass for password. Then for the catch block, first we have to specify what we want to catch, and this is PDO exception E being the exception. PDO exception is the type, and E is the variable. And when we have the exception, I'll create another variable called error, which is going to be equal, it's done, to E. Then here at the end we'll write get get message, and finally we will echo. Nope, not each, it's supposed to be echo error. And if everything works fine, we'll want to echo connected. Okay, so going through this again real quick, it's basically what we created a DNS variable which is going to allow us to connect to our server. We are specifying that we're using MySQLi first, and the host name or our server address is this long address here. The database we want to connect to is this one. The username is Santos, the password is 1111, and we are using PDO because it's more secure and all. Okay, so with this done, I'll save this file, and I'll go back here and I'll write here file manager. Let us upload the file. So here we have our file manager. So let us upload the file. Or I can just create a file here. I'll call it db. Okay. What's the best thing to do here? Download, not open, view, new folder. Let's go for open then. Oops, that was an accident. Sorry. I'll hit file manager again. I'm here already. We want to upload the RDB file now. Blah 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 blah. Just wait a second. db.php. Here we have our file db.php, and I want to edit this file. Okay, since we already have this written here, we can just come and copy this, and I'll paste it, oops, over here. Save and close. And now how are we going to test this? Okay, now it's testing time. Let us copy our server address. I know that this process is kind of complicated, but this is to make sure that we all set our servers correctly. Okay, I will do this, and I'll do slash let us go directly to db.php and see what we have. And I have to specify the path to that file, meaning that we have to pass through public. We have to pass to public HTML, and then we have to access this. So the path is supposed to be like this. Copy here, save and close over here. So there is a problem here. Let's go back to our file manager, edit. There are a couple things I had to change. First of all, here what we did paste the address. It's not supposed to have the address. It's supposed to have localhost. I'll save this, and coming back here, manage database for the user, db user. This is the name that we're using. So I just have to copy this, come back here and paste it. Now let's save and close. Okay, now let's see what happens if I go back and I reload. Ta-da! Now we are connected to the database. Okay, now I have to do something else. Let us try to find a way to retrieve our data from our database. Let us create a file, and I'm going to call this file get.php. Then you hit create. Well, you can go and edit your files using VS Code and then paste the code here, or we can just use this. And even the text editor they provide here, it's quite nice. So now let us write our, let me zoom. Let us write the code that's going to give us back the contents of our table. So I'll write here PHP. Then first we're going to create a variable, and we're going to call it query. And then we have here select star, meaning we want to get all of the content from, if I'm not mistaken, the name of the table is posts. Okay, then here we have stm is a variable, stands for statement, is going to be equal to db, but we have to require the db first. Require once db.php. Okay, and now here we can just write db, and this variable, the db variable, is defined inside of the db file. I will show you afterwards. We define this variable. prepare our query, and then when this is done, we are going to stm execute. Okay, this is a PDO PHP syntax, but basically what's happening is we are requiring our db.php file, which establishes the connection with the database, and then we are creating a variable of type query, and the content of variable select everything from the table posts, and then we are doing statement is equal to database.prepare query. This is just to make sure that our query is error free, and afterwards we're going to execute. Okay, now let me just get a single, I'll call this row from our database, and then we're going to have stm, or our statement is going to be fetch. We are getting the content from the table. We are fetching the content from the table. Then we are going to give pdu, and then here we're going to give fetch underscore assoc, meaning that we want to get an associative array. Okay, then here let us try, for example, echo row. Get.php, and let's make sure that our code is error free by coming here and running this get.php. Array to string conversion, and understand what's the problem, because again here we are just printing our, this is an array because we are fetching the data from the database in the form of an array, pdo fetch associative array. What we can do is let me open VS Code, and this is the file we already had here. What we want to do is to echo our JSON encode. This is what I want. Oops. And it's going to convert whatever is inside of this into a JSON format. So I'll come back here and I will paste this. Oops. JSON encode row. Okay, save and close. Let's go back here. Let us, ta-da, and we have it. We have the response. We are fetching from our table. We created this table. The ID is 1, the post header is Flutter, and the post body is blah 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 blah. I love Flutter. Connected is basically the input from, if I go back to the db.php, let me edit this, and we don't need to have this anymore. Let me just comment. Save and close. Now what are we going to do? Let's try to view this output from our Flutter app. So let's go back to our app, which is not this. Let me run the app. Oops. Did I open the wrong one? Oh no, I have some extras here. Okay, let me run the app again and put it on full screen. Now let us make use of HTTP. You have to import a package called HTTP. You just go to here, you can just write dart HTTP. Then the thing you're going to have to edit on your pubspec file is here. You just have to write HTTP then column. It's all you have to do, and then you get packages from the pubspec file. So you copy this and then you hit packages get, and make sure you indent the edge with this F. Okay, now let us try to view our response inside of our app. So import package http.dart as HTTP. Now let us write here future get data, which must be asynchronous. And what are we doing here? We are giving this future because we are going to expect to get something in the future. We are going to expect to get the response from our server, and we may need to wait for a while to get the response back. So inside here, first we have to define URL, which is going to be equal to, come back to our web browser, and this is the URL we want. Okay, and then we have HTTP response. We're going to create a variable of the type HTTP response, and we're going to do await HTTP dot get URL. And then after this, you're going to do let us do var data is equal to j. I need to import some packages here. Import dart convert. This will allow us to convert these two, because we want to use JSON the code response dot body. And finally, let us print data to see that if this is working or not. And to make sure that we don't run into any errors, let's write data to string. And then if we come up here, we will Control N and come to override methods, we want to override the initial state of the app, and at the beginning we want to do what? Get data. Okay, so let us see how good does it work, or if we run into trouble. Mm. Okay, where is, let me stop the app for now, because we do have a lot of things going on here. And let us run the app again and see what we get. This may take a while, but hopefully, since it's not the first time we're running the app, it won't take too much time. Okay. And let me, in the meantime, let me. And ladies and gentlemen, it is working. If you see here, we have ID1, post Flutter, post body, blah blah blah. I do love Flutter. Let us see where is this coming from. Right there. If we go, let me zoom this out. If we go to our admin, it may take a while, but eventually it's going to open. You can see that here for our Flutter database, let me hit on our posts table. Do you see we have the ID1, post header Flutter, post body, blah blah blah, and everything. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you connect your server to your Flutter mobile app, and from this you can do basically every single thing you want. But this is not all I will do, because now only we retrieve the data from the database. The next video we're going to implement some CRUD functionalities, like we're going to write data into the database, we are going to delete data, we are going to update data, and all of that good stuff. We are going to do that on our next video. I hope you did like the video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to comment, to like, and to leave any suggestion if you have. Thank you.